Hello, and thank you for joining our webinar today, Driving Growth Through Automation in Construction Accounting. Excuse me, we're off to a great start. Hey, a couple of quick housekeeping items before we jump into introductions with my co-host here. Please go ahead and type questions into the chat box or the Q&A box and submit them. We have a lot of wonderful content today, so we actually may run a little bit long, but we promise to get to those questions. If we don't get to them live during the webinar, we will get to them at the end. So please make sure you get them in there. We'll also send a copy of the presentation and recording of the webinar and follow-up emails after the event. And then also make sure you take a chance to fill out the survey at the end of the event. So my co-host today is Mr. Dennis Stacekel. He's done several of these with us, and they've been very enjoyable. Dennis is our Director of Construction and Real Estate at Sage. Just a wealth of time spent in the industry and really passionate about how technology helps construction companies. So driving growth. Profitability will drive growth. Increased efficiency, stronger cost management can contribute. This can be accomplished by automating routine tasks as well as providing timely data to base our decisions on. So Sage Intacct is your single source of financial truth. It's really it's that safety net that you know that has the accurate data that you need to make decisions in order to scale your company. So Dennis, could you show us a couple examples of how Sage Intacct Construction can help an organization improve their bottom line?
Yes, thank you very much, Dustin. As we look at your daily activities, your monthly activities, there's a lot of routine things that you do, and if you could save 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day on a task, that's just gonna give you more time to really focus on managing the company, leading the company. So with that, I'm going to show you a couple little time savers within the Intacct product. So let's start real simple with some real simple ones. Accounts payable. We all know we have invoices that come in every single month. It could be for rent, it could be for insurance, a variety of different things. So right within the system, you have a recurring invoice tool. And this shows up in a variety of places, including on the AR side too, if you needed to generate any sort of recurring bills. But in this recurring bill tool, you'll notice here I've got two of them set up, one for insurance and one for Beaverton. You, of course, get to set the on them, you get to set the amount, etc. You even internally with them get to set the distributions. So here's a bill, City of Beaverton for monthly water and sewage, and in this example here, it's a fixed charge. And you can see that I've taken that amount and I've allocated it to 3 different divisions within my company. So with that, every single month, once a month, this is going to pop up and generate out. Another example of this is this insurance one. Now you'll notice with this one, I've done something a little bit different. In this particular case, see this allocation column. This provides me a method where I can pre-establish an allocation method. That allocation method might be a percentage or something like that. And then I could actually have it, when it generates, it uses that allocation method. And then if I need to change that allocation method, I can change it, and then it will basically redistribute or will distribute based on those percentages. So with that, this is a real simple example of how you can set up recurring bills, recurring invoices in the AP side. And notice here, the next bill date is always there for you, tells you how many times it's run off, and it's relatively easy to turn off and edit if required. Another example of, again, your daily activities. The system comes with a very strong security system. So if I go into company here, I can have roles, and roles are basically different types of users and the permissions that they are entitled to. So if I go to my project admin role right here, I can see, let me go back a screen here. I can see what the subscriptions are for that particular company, and they can do certain things. Well, let's say that I wanted to take that project admin role and I wanted to make a PM2 role. notice my duplicate button here. So I could just press duplicate, call it, PM, maybe got level 2, a second one, and then I want to modify the subscriptions with that particular company. So I can save that away, come back to it, modify my descriptions. Well, I don't want them in there. I don't want them in there. The rest of that is okay. I save it away, and I've got 2 roles now, PM2 as well as the PM1. So again, relatively simple, easy, fast to do. Another example of this is financial reports. Let's take a report. I've got one here. Financial project overview by project manager. Where is it here? There we go. By job type. So let's take this particular report and kind of look at it real quickly. And you'll notice here in my rows, I've got different types of work built into this report. Well, let's say that I wanted this report, but I didn't want, MEP, or I didn't want one of those. All I would have to do is duplicate. I'll call this type 2, give it a name, and then modify the report as I want to. So I can pull it back up, modify it as I need to, pull out the different components that I don't want, save it away, and I'm done. So again, relatively simple, quick, and easy. You can do that with things like there's a tool called a smart event in the system. Smart event in the system is something where it watches the data and it watches actions. Once those actions are executed, it does something. So I've got one set up here, for example, BVN. Some of you might know of this if you're in public work, and it stands for a bond validation number. So I've set this particular one up to go through, and every time I save a subcontract, I wanted to check to see if the bond validation number is blank. And if it is blank, I needed to email someone something. Okay. And in this particular case, I want to email, an administrator, and they basically say this subcontractor does not have a BVN number. Please check with our surety agent. So it's a very simple way. But the point here is I could save a lot of time and money just by using the smart event. But more importantly, I could also duplicate it if I needed to. So those are some examples of what I'll call system level tools. Let's say that I was working on a job and I wanted to take a job, and I do a lot of redundant work. Okay, I build in my example here, I build a lot of the Quinta hotels or Fullerton warehouses. In these, let's say that I wanted to take one of these and I wanted to use it as a template for a different job. Again, come in, duplicate, and it basically duplicates the job as well as the cost codes within that job. So it allows for a little bit more standardization of these different types of tools and pieces of data. So you don't have to read it in every single time. So there's a lot of shortcuts you can save there. So with that, that's a little bit about some tactical type things that one might do to save some time and effort.
Yeah, I think I counted 7 or 8 there, Dennis, that you did that just simple activities that can be automated, especially the dynamic allocations, eliminating the need for the error-prone and time-consuming spreadsheets to handle the allocations is fantastic. Yeah. So what about activities that invoice multiple people in the office? Any help there?
Yeah, there's a number of things. Real simple one. A lot of times the project managers and folks like that are out and about, and they just don't have time to stop by the system and check a dashboard or something like that. So maybe you want to get them the reports or get them specific reports on a regular basis. You got 2 choices. One, they could stop what they're doing, come to a browser, meaning, this is cloud software. So any place they have a browser, they could access it, or someone could run the report and email it to them, or we automate it. Okay. And so I'm going to go into reports here, go into a thing called Report Center. As I go into Report Center, one of the things that I can do is find the particular report I'm looking for. Let's see, I want a job overview with forecast. project overview. There we go. We'll just take this project go overview one. Now with this particular one, you'll notice I've got a variety of actions here. I could do a number of things. If I want to take this, then I just want to export it as Excel, I could do that. If I wanted to put it to a PDF, I could do that. But over in this more actions things, you'll notice one of the options here is schedule. So right from here, I can go ahead and say, I want to schedule this particular report to run. And once I do that, it gives me some information which I can use to set up the parameters. You know, what company do I want to run this off of? So I could pick that type of information. How do I want to deliver it? Well, I want to email it. When do I want it to start? Well, I want it to start on the 23rd. How often do I want it to run? Every single week and every other week. And then I could address it to who I'm sending it to, those types of things. So I've got one already set up here. So I'm going to go back to one I already had set up and pull that particular one up. Back to my reports, back to my report center. And right from this tool, I can see all of my scheduled reports. So you can see that I've got a variety of them scheduled. If I needed to edit them, I could do that right here. So relatively easy to set those scheduled reports up. And then basically at the scheduled time, they will go ahead and they will run. And in this example here, they would go ahead and they would deliver an email that might look like this one. I'm going to pop up here in a second. This is one I've already sent. And it's just very simple. Here's your weekly job overview report. And in this particular case, you notice when I sent it, I said, send it as an Excel file. So it went ahead and it did that. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do, pretty easy to set up. So another area that, if you're doing it manually, if you're doing it where you've got to go chase people down, is in the whole area of approval. So let's say that we had some invoices, we had some policies in place around accounts payable. And so in accounts payable, I'm going to go into this configuration area, and I'm going to kind of define my system. How do I want this to work? So I'm kind of going down a little bit to the bill approval area. And I'm basically saying, yes, I want to enable that. And yes, I want email notifications sent out. This manager lets me set up different policies, different methods. I'm going to pull a real simple one here, value approved. So based on the dollar amounts, it basically can be routed to different people who've got dollar amount approval levels. So for example, Dustin might be able to approve everything that's a level 1, and I approve anything that requires 2 approvals. So you notice here under manage roles, I've got, if it's between 1,000 and 5,000, we only need 1 approver on it. If it's between over 5,000, it needs 2 approvers. And I'm the person who is the second approver, for example. So someone else who is the single approver could take care of it, the level 1 approval. But if you need level 2 approval, it has to go by me. So this is a simple way to set it up. And it works pretty simple. Okay, so I'm going to go in here. I've got some bills already set up. So I'm going to cheat here just for say you don't want to watch me type. So notice this little viewing tool. This is a viewing tool you'll see probably 10 times what I demonstrate today. It's constant and common throughout the software. So I'm going to go into, I want to look at absolute construction, and you notice we had a bill in 9:15, we got another bill in 10:15, and I'm Mr. Dennis Sanford. I'm not Dennis Daskell. I'm Dennis Sanford right now, and I'm going to take this particular one because I'm kind of lazy, and I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to make this into one for 11:15. So I come through here, change the date to 11:15. That's all good. Give it the invoice number. 555. Distribution's fine. Well, for whatever this is, I want to go ahead and submit this in. So I basically say submit. And basically at that point, I'm now kind of, my work as Dennis Sanford is now done. So with that said, what it's done though, is it's taken that data and it's put it into a queue for me. And that queue can show up in a variety of different places. One of the places it can show up is I get an email. So an email comes to me, and in that email, it basically tells me a little bit about it, and it says click here to approve it. Now, if I'm getting this email and I'm on my phone, I can actually click there and it renders up a special screen just for the phone that I can approve it. I can also go to a dashboard. So let's say, I typically come in here and I typically look at this particular dashboard. And you're going to see me in and out of this dashboard quite a bit today. And just down here, there's a little widget. Where the heck did it go? They're called approved bills. And right from here, if I had, whoops, I'm in a different wrong company here. Let me switch to my other company. One of the things you notice here is these different tabs I'm going into. This is because I have entities set up. And so with these entities set up, it controls what I have access to and what I can see. And if I want to come in to just seeing the stuff for the general construction entity, which is where I'm at now, I only see stuff out of that entity, objects out of that entity. So kind of going back down to my approval area, notice here I've got approved bills, and I've got a variety of different bills up there, including that one that I just put in there. Once I get here, it's relatively simple to open up the actual approval option, the approval screen, and let me work within it. So I've got a couple different invoices out here that I need to get to, but I'm only going to pick on these two absolute ones. So I'm going to actually just hit that first one, and I say approve, and I can put in a comment, please pay ASAP, and I say approve it. And that was 334. So now it disappeared. I can close that window back off and do whatever I want to do. Now, if I actually go back to that invoice, so I'm going to go back to that invoice. And I basically, one of the things I have on that invoice, so I go back to accounts payable here, bills, I'm going to put my absolute back in. Okay, there's 334. Okay, and so I pull this back up. One of the things that it's done is it's kept track of what's occurred with it. So I've got an approval history. There it is saying that Dennis approved it. Please pay ASAP. Whereas the other one, basically, if I pull that up, it would be basically marked as not being approved yet. So again, simple task that goes on over and over in your office. But with a little bit of automation, you can get those bills approved, get them through the workflow and through your processes quicker and faster.
Well, you were smart not to give me an approval threshold of anything more than about $1,000, Dennis. So what about like month-end processes? Those I've always seen that they really do slow things down for companies. So what do you have on the month-end process front?
Yeah, variety. I'm going to kind of chat about it from two perspectives. One of the big things is we all know what WIP reports are, and we all know we've got to gather data from the WIP reports, and we got to gather data from project managers to put into the WIP report, and then bring that all together. And so I'll pull up a little dashboard here again that kind of shows some concepts here. Notice there what happened. I was basically, this is my Dennis Stanford company. I was just logged in as Dennis Stanford, and that particular person is not authorized to look at it. So they get a message basically saying, sorry, you can't look at it. I'm going to go back to my Dennis Stasco one now, pull up that same dashboard. Dashboards, projects, foundations. And as I get here, you'll notice I've got my WIP reports. And notice I've got WIP, all projects. So relatively straightforward. It's based on, number one, time. And I've got two versions of it here. Notice I've got one that has my estimated cost in it. If I look at, a particular job, 2005, I can see my, let me change my date here to get more current data in there. And again, these things are time sensitive, and where that would be important is on forecast, because your forecast every month might change. So if I look at my WIP report again, and I'm not quite sure now why my estimate's not showing up there, but we'll come back to that. But notice I've got an estimated amount or a forecast amount. So one of the things we can do with the system is we can store both types of numbers. So if I go over to my job estimate area and I look at job estimates, and I'm going to look at 20005 here, you'll notice here I've got a variety of types of estimates for this job. And I can put dates on it. I'm just not showing them on this particular screen. But you notice I've got a current estimate. I've got an original estimate. Current estimate was 1,449. Original was 1,442. Probably had some change orders that came in after the original estimate. But the other thing you'll notice here is the forecast. So I can actually enter a forecast for March, April, May, June, July, save it away, and then use it in reporting. So entry of the data, once we get it in there, access to it then can be through a variety of reports. So for example, if I look at this estimate summary report that I've got, I can look at this and I can basically see for that particular job at a very granular level, at the cost code level, here's what my current estimate is. If I wanted to, I could have put in original estimate as well. I just don't have that designed into here. But this is my current estimate. Again, that would typically contain the original plus any revisions for the purpose of, okay, project manager went through a buyout variance and he's going to use the money someplace else. He might move it that way. Or it could be that we had a change order come through, and that change order, of course, affected the estimate. But you can see here I've got my current estimate, I've got a forecast, and then my historical forecast. So if I look at this line item, I can see it went from 20 to 30 up to 35. And there's detail underneath this. If I wanted to go see that, I could reason why that particular line item changed by $5,000. So the point on this is once we get this data gathered, the ability then to report on it through a variety of different types of reports is very simple. Whereas today in a lot of construction companies that I've been in, they're doing all of this in Excel. And they have to, number one, get the numbers into Excel. And then number two, they have to make sure that they're accurate. And then, you could just think about the potential for error, the redundancy of data entry, all sorts of challenges. Another month-end process that often comes along is, if you're a multi-entity company, and this is a company where I've got different regions as well as different, and the two regions might be Canada and US, for example. And then I've got, within a region, I've got different locations. So for example, here, I've got a location, P&L by location, and I'm showing New York. Well, let's say I wanted to look at San Jose. Well, I can very simply go up to this dashboard filter, say, let's take a look at San Jose, and I can apply that filter. And of course, it shows me San Jose. Well, what do I want to look at them collectively? Well, I want to put basically New York and San Jose together, and I built out a method there for basically just the USA, and it pulls those two together. Now, if it actually worked in multiple, let's say I had 10 or 12 different locations, I can group them in any way that I wanted. If I wanted to group them, just by country like I did here, that's easy to do. If I wanted to group them, west of the Mississippi and east of the Mississippi, I could group them that way. So you've got total flexibility in how you group this data together. Another example of this type of thing is I'm going to go back to my general construction over here, look at my dashboards, look at my project foundations dashboard again. And you can see I'm kind of looking at, in this particular case, I've got all these variety of different projects out there, okay? Well, I might be interested in, a particular project type. So I can do that a couple of different ways. Again, I can come up here and I can say, I just want to look at all my warehouses. And I can apply it. And it goes out, filters the numbers. So again, this gives you an analytical tool, an analysis tool to kind of pivot the data in a variety of different ways. So there's all my warehouse numbers, my performance cards up there. Give me some quick recounts of what's going on. Now, of course, I can switch over and look at hotels by just going here, But let's say I really want to look at across all projects again. Well, these financial reports that I'm showing here, notice this one I prepared down here that orders the data by hotels and by warehouses. So I could easily, right on this line, just compare the two different types of reports. Now, if I was a multi-entity company, I can go out to my top level again, look across all projects, all locations, and say apply. And in this case, it basically takes that same report, applies it to more data across all my different entities, and those are separate LLCs, separate regions, separate departments, whatever they might be. And you can see here, now I've got hotels, warehouses. Now I picked up my MEP projects because I also have an MEP company and I've got a residential builder company. And you can see then how I picked these up. And by doing analysis, by looking at, the spend on them, and I could do the same type of thing on WIP reports as well, but I can get better visibility into, how am I doing? Is there particular regions that's not doing well? Is there a particular project manager that's not doing well? Notice here I've got by project manager. So it provides a strong analytical tool.
I love the way that you're able to just so quickly pivot from different views, geography, by project manager, by business unit. That's really powerful stuff, Dennis. So, I feel like I get to keep asking you, what else? What's more? Do you have any more examples of waste?
Yeah, and one of the biggest areas is really in the whole area of interoperability. And we see examples of this all over the place. We see numbers being rekeyed into Excel, so that's a major problem. Number one, just the redundancy of someone having to double enter it, but number two, mistakes happen. That data is dated, it's old, it's stale. Second area is, double entry system. Well, I'm not talking about debits and credits here. I'm talking about, let's say I do have a Procore solution for my operations, and I want to integrate that Procore with my Sage, my ERP system. Well, that's a problem if you don't have that integration working. Number one, the numbers might be different. But number two, they might be stale. Number three, all the cost that goes in a job, it doesn't necessarily get entered into a system like Procore. It gets captured in the ERP system. So if you don't have some level of integration between those tools, you've got some real challenges. And trying to do it manually, good luck. This all then results in data silos. Here's a real simple example. A developer might have Sage, Procore, Yardi for lease management, a CRM system, an HR system, and we really need to get that data into a common place. So, I'm sure some of you has got examples of these that you can relate to. And, with Intacct, our goal here is to stop that. We don't want double entry. We want to help eliminate data silos any way we can. And one of the ways that we actually do that is two major components. Number one, our relationships. We've been in this industry 45, almost 50 years. We've been in construction finance. And so with that, we have established numerous relationships over the years. These are just some of those examples. And you can see here, we've got time entry tools. We've got HR type tools. We got operational tools. Field Flow is a tool specifically for demolition and asbestos contractors. We've all heard of Procore. GC Pay, a real strong partner in the whole area of pay applications. But it's those relationships that we have, and we're bringing a lot of these relationships from our Sage 300 construction real estate / Timberline and our master builder Sage 100 contractor product. We're bringing those to the Intacct table right now. And it's the Intacct table platform, though, with its strong APIs that really lets us build out these integrations. I've been working with Procore on bringing the Intacct integration or bringing the Procore integration to the Intacct platform.
We've already done this twice now with Sage 100 Contractor and Sage 300 CRE. We've got over 1,200 shared customers using those integrations. So we've taken those integrations, taken the experiences from them, and actually built them out stronger, deeper, and with the API set that we have with Intacct, we can actually build them out better. And this is an example we're shooting for basically in the first quarter, right around the 1st of February, our first release of that integration. And you can see our first target here is all the cost, the project setup, vendors, budgets, and estimates going both ways, subcontracts and POs from Procore down to Intacct, cost, all the different types of costs that go up to the Procore budget screens. All this basically is being built out today by Procore. And the thing that they love about Intacct is the APIs to do it are all there. And they're just connecting their APIs to our APIs in order to build this out. So again, we see a lot of waste because of lack of integration. And that's an area we really, really focus on. So kind of closing this off, this is a little pivot table that I think, or a little circle that really I hits on a lot of what I talked about today. Diverse stakeholders, you got them in your company. You've got operations people, service people, estimating people, finance people. Our goal is to automate any cross-role tasks as much as possible. Integrations with operations and finance, I've hit on that a number of times. Getting numbers from Procore into Sage efficiently and timely, and we strive to make that automation occur. Our workflows are out in the field. Or they're in regional offices. By the nature of the cloud and the browser-based solution that Intacct is, we're already helping that situation out. But things like sending out notifications around purchasing approvals, sending out reports, that deals with the distributed workflow. Automating core processes, I've hit on a variety of those, and they can be as simple as setting up a vendor. Maybe I'm going to use this vendor, and I want to take advantage of the ability to have 2 locations for a vendor. So I want to copy and duplicate that vendor. Multiple entities, I hit that big time about consolidations, be it financial or project. We can do it either way. And of course, faster reporting timeframes. As the data is coming in, as those things are being approved due to the automation we've got, that data is available at your fingertips right away. So hopefully, Dustin, that kind of points out some of the ways we can automate this construction office.
Yeah, it truly does, Dennis. And if I could try to, summarize what you've so adeptly shared today, it's grow with confidence, right? You got to make sure you're getting the most efficiency out of your system. The way we like to kind of talk about it is letting automation handle the detail so your staff can focus on the higher value work, shifting that accounting talent from merely coping with growth to strategically driving growth. So I hope you've all enjoyed this presentation today. For more information, you can see an email address here, a phone number, a website to get more information about Sage Intacct Construction. We are up against time, so what we'll do is we will respond to the questions that have come in via the Q&A section. We will respond to those post-show and make sure that everybody gets the answers they were looking for. So thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Dennis, thank you. Great job. And we'll catch you guys again soon in a few weeks.